Have you been to Montreal?
I've been.
I just moved to Montreal.
Did you have language difficulty there?
So I recently took a trip to Toronto, or Toronto as the locals call it. They're too busy to say the second T. No, but seriously, I enjoyed my time. It's a fascinating city with a lot going on. And while I was there, I wanted to ask some locals about their experiences in Montreal. Some of them have visited the city, some of them just have hot takes on Montreal, what makes it different than Toronto. We're gonna get into it and stick around till the end where I'm gonna share some thoughts on what I think make these two cities different. But first, I wanna quickly thank our sponsor for today's video, Ridge Wallet. Guys, check this thing out. This is super groovy when the light hits it different. This is the Damascus Steel Edition. It's significantly smaller than my old chunky boy wallet. You can keep up to 12 cards organized and easily accessible. Is that my Montreal Metro Pass? Yes, it is. Look at that. Beautiful. Ridge also makes key holders if you want to organize your keys just as you organize the cards in your pockets. They got you covered. Go to ridge.com/thenewtravel to save up to 40% until December 22nd. If you want any holiday gifts, go check it out. Get your discount. ridge.com/thenewtravel. And now, let's get to the video. So I live in Montreal.
Oh, okay.
Have you been there?
I've been there twice, yeah.
Yeah?
Love the city.
What do you like more, Toronto or Montreal?
Look, if I speak French, I probably prefer Montreal.
Did you have language difficulty there?
It's okay, but I think I can involve myself better in the city if I speak French.
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand all the subway announcements, right? Those are easy. But if you want to speak to someone local,
What do you love about Toronto?
I don't know. I appreciate the like diversity that's here and
Yes.
the culture, laid back. I think people mind their own business, which is nice. So
Yeah, like the cultural aspects of Toronto for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I just moved to Montreal, and I would say, I don't know, people in Montreal are very almost patriotic, you know,
Like proud Quebec
yeah,
type thing?
proud, yeah, Quebecois, and you don't really have that in Montreal. There's no or in Toronto, I mean, there's no Toronto pride, or there isn't that aspect of it, which I really like. It's very centered on, as you said, multiculturalism and diversity. So
That's interesting. So Montreal's got the one strong culture, whereas here you're saying it's kind of
no,
mixed.
here it's definitely better for sure. Moving to Montreal made me realize that aspect of Toronto.
You said you're visiting from Montreal.
Yeah.
How long you been in Toronto?
Well, we just arrived here.
Okay.
Maybe 2 hours ago.
First impressions, what's the good, what's the bad, what do you think?
Bad bitches. Bad bitches. Absolutely.
Gotta zoom in for that.
Beautiful women.
Wow.
I love Toronto.
I mentioned I'm from Montreal. Have you been to Montreal?
I've been.
Do you have any thoughts how Montreal and Toronto are different? What's your thoughts on Montreal?
Montreal, I love it because of the old feel of it. The feeling of it's an old city and the streets are narrower. I don't know. It feels like you're in there.
And obviously, it's not too different from home, right? But it is at the same time. The ideas are the same, but they just went different ways. I don't know. It feels bigger here than Montreal, I would say. There's similarities. I don't feel like this is completely new, right? But it feels different. It's hard to explain, honestly.
Yeah.
No language barrier. We all speak the same language here. There's no segregation on the languages. Yeah. I love that. I can speak to anyone and no one's gonna look at me differently because I speak English in Canada.
So the French issue is a bit hard sometimes.
Oh, well, I speak French. I can get it across. It's just the fact that if I speak English, even by accent, there's a problem.
Gotcha.
What?
Yeah.
So I don't like that.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I have to agree with that.
You speak French. Was it hard with the language or?
Oh no, I don't speak French, but I think you guys are very sensitive with French, I guess, because there's this one interaction that I had with a guy who's also Asian, and then I started conversing to him in French. I said bonjour, and then he speak to me in straight French, and then I said I'm sorry, I don't speak French, and then he just rolled his eyes on me as if I'm not trying, and then I wanted to explain myself I'm just a tourist, I'm not from here. So yeah, that's how I feel about the French in Montreal, but they're pretty nice too.
Interesting.
So you're constantly judging other people who speak French?
No.
No.
Is that what have you been to Montreal?
I have not, but that's
Okay.
that's what I've heard.
Then it's judgmental French speakers. Well, I think there's a few of those, and they give the rest of the city a bad reputation. There's a few people who like to correct everything.
So you're not one of them?
No.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I love that.
I'm from Toronto.
Toronto. Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. So the city is way better.
Part of the exodus. I think a lot of people from Toronto are looking at Montreal now, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like
I talked to a couple people.
Yes, I'm talking to some of my friends, and they're like, I just want to go to Montreal. Like, the people that are saying they want to go to Vancouver and stuff, they were like,
Yeah.
no, it's Montreal.
How long have you been here now?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
What's something you love about Montreal?
It's definitely the people. The people are so kind and so welcoming, and they are willing to help you out even if you're a stranger on the street. Neighbors will come and deliver pies to you. They'll make sure you feel home. So, yeah.
Please note that this video is not making any claims that you will get pies from your neighbors. Do not ask your neighbors for pie because a YouTuber told you you would get them. I hold no responsibility for you receiving or not receiving any freshly baked pies.
I'd say for what I'd like was the community of the music and the festivals was great. And then for what I didn't like, probably the construction. Every other street was construction. It wasn't too bad to get around, but the construction just changes everything. One-way streets, you're doing U-turns on and everything like that. But everything else, beautiful.
Nice, man. I'm making a video today, actually.
Yeah.
You want to be in it? You want to be in it? Where are you from? From Montreal? From Toronto?
Toronto, yeah. We're from
Your whole life, Toronto?
Yeah, downtown. We're from downtown.
Quebec, Montreal.
Je parle français.
Moi aussi, mon ami.
I was in Quebec.
Yeah.
Worked there, and they sent me to come work in Toronto.
Oh yeah.
That's I move. I'm here.
Where do you like more, Montreal or Toronto?
Quebec.
You like Quebec?
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Je suis francophone, hein.
Ah, c'est cool.
Moi, je suis franco-ontarien.
Ok.
Oui. Moi, je suis.
Mais à votre avis, c'est quoi la plus grande différence entre Montréal et Toronto? Comme la culture et choses comme ça?
La plus grande différence, c'est parce que si Toronto, c'est une bonne ville, très grande ville. En plus, il y a beaucoup de travaux. Tu vois? Si tu aimes travailler, tu peux gagner la vie. Tu peux même acheter l'utile, tu peux payer le rent, la maison, tu peux payer tout ce que tu veux, tu peux acheter la bière, tu peux partager avec mes amis ou tes amis, tu vois? Parce qu'il y a beaucoup de travaux.
Et on fait la fête aussi par ici, on fait la fête.
À Toronto?
Ouais, on fait la fête. Je suis parti à Montréal, à Saint-Jérôme, partout là-bas, mais à Toronto, je pense que j'ai fini par ici, Dans mon adolescence, j'étais vraiment à Montréal, puis partout.
Ouais.
Mais maintenant, quand j'ai grandi, j'ai dit Toronto, c'est vraiment ici que je dois rester.
Ok.
Ouais, parce qu'ici, il y a trop d'opportunités, man.
Ok.
Il y a trop d'opportunités.
So I promised at the start that I would share some of my own thoughts on what makes these two cities different. But now I'm kind of thirsty, so I'm going to break that promise. Goodbye. Oh, you're still here. Okay. Well, I guess I will share some thoughts after all. So here's my take as someone who actually grew up in Winnipeg and very far away from both of these cities, okay? Toronto, in my mind, was always Canada's New York City. And I think in a lot of ways, my visit to Toronto confirmed that to be true. It's a place that has so much energy when you walk down the streets and so much diversity in terms of the people and the walks of life. You have people who are very, very poor. You have people who are very, very rich. And they're all kind of coinciding side by side in this intense urban environment. Now, to some people, that could be the coolest city ever. And a lot of young Canadians, especially those who want to advance their careers or build networks of like-minded people, end up in Toronto for those reasons. But for other people, that sounds awful. Like if you're from a place like Saskatoon and you like your short commute times and you like just kind of being on your own and having peace and quiet, Toronto is not the place for you. Toronto's a lot of things, but I would not describe it as quiet. Now, Montreal's a big city as well. It's the second biggest city in Canada, and it also has its areas that are, have that dense urban feel. Like if you're walking down René Lévesque Boulevard or something like that, you're gonna feel you're in that huge city. But somehow it doesn't, downtown Montreal feels like a place where people go to shop and to hang out, whereas downtown Toronto just feels like there's way more people living there. And while visitors to Montreal always comment on how it feels kind of European and it's got that different vibe, I think This is true, but not only for the language reason. Like people always think, oh, they speak French, so it must be European. But it's deeper than that. It also has to do with the density of the city. We have a lot of buildings all around the area that I live that are like 3-story tall, like mid-density buildings, not houses and not skyscrapers, but that middle, which is really missing from cities like Toronto. I mean, there's a few of them, but for the most part, people are living in very tall towers. And then there's areas that have the old houses, which are worth millions of dollars, which no one wants to sell. And so Montreal density is a different experience. And for that reason, I like the small neighborhood feel. But at the same time, it can feel so small that you just stay in your neighborhood and you don't feel like you're in a city of over 4 million people. Toronto is not a big city that feels like a small city. It's a big city that feels like a very big city. And so it's up to you to decide if that level of energy is something that speaks to you in a positive way or a negative way. Now, of course, language is an important factor. In Montreal, if you have no intention to learn French, I'm not saying you can't get by for a short period with English. Some people get by for years with only English. But at a certain level, you will plateau. At a certain level, you will feel like your social opportunities or your work opportunities or just your day-to-day enjoyment is limited by the fact that you only speak English. Those are my takes on Montreal versus Toronto. Let me know, especially if you have spent time in both cities, what you think. Hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know your thoughts, and I will catch you next time.